What is up, guys? I am back again with another card discussion video, and this time I'm talking about 1. Beauregard Dragon, and 2. the new Timelord monsters and the spells, well, the traps. There's no spells, I'm pretty sure. So 2 things today, and let's go. So the first thing I want to look at, if you scroll down here, is Beauregard Dragon. So it's a Link 4 Dark Dragon, 3000 attack, decent arrows, and 3+ effect monsters. So the same as the other Borrow Dragons. What's different about this is that first effect cannot be destroyed by card effects. So this gives it a inherent protection, which is always nice, and I prefer this over Borrow Load's first effect. The second effect here is mainly to extend your plays, so you can send a spell or trap from the zones to the graveyard and special summon a monster from either player's graveyard. That was destroyed this turn, but its effects are negated. So, recursion, revival, extend plays, so on and so on. And the third effect, quick effect, change one monster's position, so you change something to face up defense. I wish it was face down defense, but you can't really have everything, can you? So your opponent can't actually respond to it as well, so that's neat. As a generic monster, this is good. Helps with extending your plays, and you can also use it to run over people's monsters by changing it to face up defense, and also it's sort of a big giant tower because you can't destroy it with card effects, so the opponent is forced to tribute it or battle over it. As a generic monster, I think Beauregard is actually quite decent. Look, it can't be destroyed by card effects and revive something, and you can run things over with it by changing it to defense. So it's a decent generic Link 4. In Rockets, however, I don't think I can say the same, because Rockets have trouble making Link 4s in their first few turns, and you don't really want to link away your Rockets. You want to keep them on the field and target them with Link monsters. So because of those 2 disadvantages of the deck, as I discussed in my deck profile, I don't think I would rate Beauregard as high in a Rocket deck. But as a generic monster, it's great. In a Rocket deck, I would rather make Borrow Load Dragon, but even then it's quite hard to make Borrow Load Dragon because of the reasons that I stated just before. So let's move on to the Timelords. So I just want to finish off this video by looking at the new Timelords. The Timelords were released as actual cards in the last Battles of Legends. I think it was last year or the year before, I can't remember. But it offered players a way to use Timelords as a toolbox kind of engine through Time Maiden, because Time Maiden can search the Timelords, and you can also special summon Timelords from the deck, and each Timelord had a different effect to suit the situation. So you can shuffle spells and traps, you can shuffle monsters, you can shuffle cards from your graveyard, or the opponent's graveyard. So it offered a lot of ways to toolbox your way out of situations, but not a lot of decks could play it, and if you're really interested, you can look at my Invoked Timelord deck on my channel. But let's have a look at the new Timelords. So one of the main issues with the original Timelord cards was that, you can remove stuff, but you couldn't really deal damage to your opponent, okay? You can burn for a little bit, but it doesn't really put your opponent into lethal range. So these new Timelords actually work to fix that. If you don't know, Timelords cannot be special summoned from the deck, but Time Maiden ignores that. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon them all without tributing, and they cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you take no battle damage, and then they shuffle themselves back into the deck. They all share those kind of effects, but they each have a unique effect to suit this situation, as I said before. For the new ones, 1 halves your opponent's life points, 1 deals damage equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. 1 inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of 1 face-up monster your opponent controls that this card battled this turn. And then finally, 1 actually shuffles all your opponent's cards that they control back into the deck, and then your opponent draws the same number of cards that was returned to their deck. So it's like a final kind of last resort, saying, hey, I'm going to shuffle everything and I'm going to go for game. So yeah, those are the new Time Lords, and as you can see, you can finally deal damage to your opponent. They also come with new traps. They all search themselves, and the end game is to get to infinite light. So let's start with non-existence. So they can't be destroyed by opponents' card effects, thank goodness, because they're traps and continuous. That would suck if they Ghost Ogre'd it or MST'd it, but it's still, you know, prone to Cosmic Cyclone, which is still a great card. The first one, non-existence, you can discard a level 10 monster, rank 10 trains, and then draw one card. These are interesting because they can search each other, so you can shuffle a Time Lord and you can set Endless Emptiness from your hand or deck. Endless Emptiness, again, can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, and instead of drawing, you can special summon a Time Lord from your hand, and again, you can shuffle a Time Lord from your graveyard, and then you can set Infinite Light. Infinite Light basically makes your whole board a giant wall that your opponent can't get through. Again, can't be destroyed by card effects. Time Lords can't be targeted by card effects, and you can't actually shuffle them back during the standby phase, so they actually stay on the field. And finally, once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special summon up to 3 Time Lord monsters with different names, 1 each from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, ignoring summoning conditions. So if you can get to Infinite Light, you can swarm the field with your Time Lords, and you make a giant wall that your opponent can't get through. So that's cool. Now, a lot of people have been hyping these cards up. Will this put them into the meta scene? Short answer, no, because they're just too slow. These traps are way too slow. If you can resolve them, sure, that's cool. You can get a giant wall that your opponent can't get through, but they're traps and they're slow. If I was playing them, I'll probably play 3 of the non-existence to 1 or 2 of second one, Endless Emptiness, and 1 Infinite Light to make sure I don't, brick myself. But should you give in to the hype? Look, maybe look out for them, but I don't think it will actually make them meta. Should you look at maybe getting a set of Time Maidens? That's up to you, but I have my set, and I've been playing Time Lords since they were released, so it doesn't really bother me that much. So yeah, they're great, but I wouldn't say they're broken. I wouldn't make them as a pure deck. They still function better as a toolboxing engine. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts about the new cards. You can leave your comments down below, share your thoughts about them, and I will see you guys next time.